My name is Nancy Knauf, and I am here today at Glen O. Swing Elementary School, which is in Covington, Kentucky. Here's Glen O. Swing in a plaque on the wall here, and this gentleman's special to me because he was my grandfather. And this school was dedicated to him for his 33 years of service as superintendent from 1927 until 1960. Now, I don't have a lot of memories of Glen O. Swing because I was just a toddler when he passed, but I do remember coming to this school when it was dedicated in 1968 and coming here with my family to have that experience. So I have a warm memory when I walk through the front door. Now, my mother and my grandmother must have collected a lot of great information about his career. There are newspaper clippings, there's the family genealogy, all the way back to Bethel, Ohio. There are stories and photos from his youth and his siblings and all of that are part of a collection that I have shared with the Kenton County Public Library. And I'd like to share that with you too. So let's go back to the library. Hi, now I'm in the archives at Kenton County Public Library, and I'm just going to show you a few items from the Swing Knauf collection, specifically those things that came from Glen O. Swing's records. So he was born in Bethel, Ohio, and he had two brothers and a sister, and they lived on a farm. However, Glen's father was also an educator, so he did follow in his footsteps. And we have this wonderful album with a lot of old pictures from the Swing family. This fabulous old cardstock photograph. This was Glen's father, Clifford. And I have pictures of the boys in here too, a little bit older. So that would be he and his brothers. Oops, just had it there. Yeah. John, Glenn, and Phil. And then a lot of great history from their lives in this album. So that's one cool thing that you can look through as part of the collection. Inside of that also is the Swing family record, and this genealogy dates all the way back to George Swing, 1733 in New Jersey, and it goes all the way up to my parents' time frame when they were married, which would have been 1924. And then prior to that, also there's the family record of Tatum and McNair. So one of the Tatmans, it looks like Mary Tatman, married a Swing. So that's how that would fit into that family. So some really great records there, leading back all those years. Now, Glen, he pursued education, so he went to Ohio State, and he got his undergraduate in education there as well as his master's. And he was also a member of Phi Beta Kappa. From there, he went on to be principal of Wilmington High School and went into the military. Of course, at the time he enlisted and became a lieutenant in the field artillery. So leaving the military after that, he was able to, of course, resume his education and his career. And he got married. So his wife was Linda Conry, and apparently they knew each other for quite some time because they both went to Bethel High School. And I have these lovely certificates from their graduation, which was 1909. And I have one for both Linda and also for Glen. Quite impressive. And also I have this beautiful marriage certificate. So they got married in 1917. Don't make them like this anymore. Now they had a normal like legal certificate as well, which we have in the documents, but this one's quite special. Frameable, I would say. Now he also wrote her some beautiful cards, and these were in the collection too. My grandmother must have held on to these. This one was a Christmas card. And you can see the inside of it with its beautiful script. And also a Valentine's card with a little ribbon and a key on the front of it. Really sweet. And yeah, so, you know, my mother had beautiful handwriting, and so do I, and apparently my grandfather did too. Either that or he had somebody write things for them. So I have these portraits, Now this is Linda Connery as a young woman, and this hangs in the foyer of my home, yet we have copied it for the collection. And also a portrait of Glenn in his military uniform, which would also be part of the collection. So onward they went from Bethel to Covington. So Glenn decided to take a position as a mathematics teacher, and this was in 1919 at Covington Holmes. So they moved to Covington, and that's the same year he became principal. So he wasn't a teacher very long in the school system. He became principal. And interestingly, on the marriage certificate, my grandmother, Linda, was also a teacher, but we don't have any record of her teaching career, so it may be that she just moved and became, you know, a stay-at-home mom at that point. So in 1927, Glenn became superintendent of schools, and he stayed in that role for 33 years until 1960. And we've got some really great clippings, newspaper clippings. My grandmother must have just, anything that was in the news, she put in this fabulous scrapbook. There are silhouettes made of Covingtonians that are in here. So Glenn's, his silhouette is in here, and that would have run in the paper too. Something else I really enjoyed in here, and a lot of this is just around, you know, education and his career. Here it says swing renamed, so for another 4-year term as a superintendent, and that his salary would continue at $5,000. I love that. And also in the back of here is there was a new school to be brick and stone structure. So there's an article in there about the 4th District School on Scott Boulevard. And of course, Glenn's, when he passed away, he was 72. And so there were quite a few stories about him and his contributions, you know, to Covington and as an educator and an administrator. So it's a really interesting scrapbook if you're into reading all these old news articles. So she did a really great job of documenting that. They had a couple of testimonial dinners for him. One was at 10th anniversary, another at the 25th anniversary, and then finally also retirement. And I have this program, which was from the 25th anniversary, which was at the roof garden at the Sheraton Gibson Hotel. And here's the inside of it. So you could see, you know, actually what they had for dinner. And there's also an invitation to that event. And in here are typewritten speeches. So his speech from each of those special occasions on the original typewritten pages are also part of the collection. And I just thought they were a wonderful glimpse into his personality, certainly his view on education, and as well as his upbringing. You know, he shared a lot about even when he was a boy and how that influenced him as a man and as somebody who pursued this career. And then also just, you know, his commitment to service and community and how he saw things at that age. So those are really interesting. Finally, there's another scrapbook, which I don't have with me, but it has all sorts of just notes from government officials, you know, from business owners, families expressing their gratitude, all of those that were collected when he retired. And so that's a whole nother scrapbook in here. So my grandparents had 2 children. They had Kenneth, who was born in 1919, and they had Marguerite, we called her Maggie, and she was born in 1924. And between the 2 of them, they had 6 grandchildren. And we were all raised in the Northern Kentucky area, Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky area. So I think you'll really enjoy looking at this collection. It's part of a bigger collection, and that we also have some of my mother's records in here, a little bit about her education, certainly some childhood photos, and also my father, who she married, she met at Covington Holmes. So my father was Robert Knauf, and at the time that Glen O'Swing was the superintendent of schools, Robert's dad was the Kenton County public jailer. So when they got married, it was kind of a big deal in Covington because, you know, both of their fathers were, you know, in the news a lot and were well known. So again, I hope you enjoy this collection, and thank you very much for your time.